audience online and folks in person, welcome to Bargain Witch with Brooke Palmieri and Claywoman. My name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, along with my partner, Donnie Jokum. The Bureau is an independent, all-volunteer queer bookstore that Donnie and I founded in 2012, and that has been here at the LGBT Community Center since 2014. And as a queer, independent, all-volunteer bookstore, we rely on donations as well as sales to keep this machine going. So we definitely need your support, and I will pass a bag. If you're able to make a donation, we appreciate it. Even better, we would love for you to sign up to become a monthly donor. And those donations are tax deductible through our fiscal sponsor, and you can do that on that laptop right by the register. So there are many ways to support us. Donations, buying books, like Bargain Witch, or signing up to make a monthly donation. Whatever you're able to do, we appreciate it. So there's some change in the bag if you need that for those huge bills that you're going to drop in there. There's also a Venmo QR code on the back if you'd like to give through Venmo. So I'm going to pass this around. And folks online who want to donate, if you want to do the tax deductible route, you can go to our website, bgsqd.com. If you want to do the quick and easy Venmo, it's just at bgsqd. So the Bureau has regular business hours Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m. And then we often stay open later when we have events such as this. And if you're not already on our email list, you can sign up for that at the back of the room or on our website, bgsqd.com. And you'll get an email every other Monday about our many upcoming events. And on Tuesday night, even though we are normally not open on Tuesdays, for Michelle T, we make exceptions. And Michelle T is going to be here launching Little F. Do you know if she says Little Faggot or it is Little F?
It started out as Little Faggot,
yeah.
And in order to have it more ubiquitously
Right.
publicized, it's
Little
Little F
sensitive
just on the
world.
cover. So
the inside people.
the inside.
Right, okay. I wasn't sure. I liked saying Little Faggot. I'm a little faggot.
Yeah.
So we'll be hosting Michelle on Tuesday night for Little Faggot at 6 p.m. So hopefully you'll join us for that or some of our other upcoming events. So before I introduce Brooke and Claywoman, I wanted to make a land acknowledgement. So the Bureau recognizes that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We encourage you to join the Bureau in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community House's Mannahatta Fund. The Mannahatta Fund, according to its website, is an invitation to all settlers and non-native people who wish to acknowledge the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at mannahattafund.org. And the Bureau also recognizes Palestinian liberation as a fundamental part of our collective queer liberation. And we strongly encourage you to take one of our free zines that talks about why we feel it's important, especially for queer people, to speak out in solidarity with Palestinians at this moment. So please take one or two or three, pass them around, they're free. So let's get into it. Brooke Palmieri is a writer and artist living in Joshua Tree, California, and working at the intersection of memory, history, and transsexual alternate realities. He will be in conversation with Claywoman, who is a 500 million year old extraterrestrial from Meridian Galaxy. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, yeah.
Okay. I've never been. She comes to Earth from time to chat with Earthlings. She loves Earth and all its inhabitants, who she finds incredibly fascinating, giving lectures at various events and engaging in public conversation with prominent Earthling artists and intellectuals. Do you want me to read the Claywoman bio of this one? I guess I should have checked before.
No, that's all
Are we
right. I don't know
leaving
who
it as
that
that?
is. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's
Make sure
fine,
we're
yeah.
covering all the
Yeah.
bases. Please give it up for Brooke Palmieri and Claywoman. Let's do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, Brooke.
Hello. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here with you. I love the general services. I go to general services all over the place, but I much prefer the queer division.
Oh, it's the premier division.
Yeah, you know, they have divisions everywhere, and they just don't have the same decorations. Like, look at this. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I wrote the book I did is to get into spaces like this. Or, you know, like, this is where I want to be. This is my
Exactly.
dream location.
And I'm so glad you invited me, because I don't get, you know, I have a hard time getting around, and so I don't, so unless someone tells me about something, I don't go.
There must be so much you're invited to that you just...
You know, it's difficult, as, you know, I mean, being one of the only extraterrestrials that anyone knows, you know, people want to show you off to their friends. And, you know, I get it. Now, but that's enough about me. We're here about Brooke's book, Bargain Witch. Bargain Witch. Bargain Witch. Now, I've read sections of it, and I really, truly enjoyed it so much. I love so much especially going back into the teenage years, I found very moving and beautiful about how your transformations and the ways that you found witchiness.
Yeah, an important part of the book is, like, trying to reckon with the fact that witchcraft is such a, we have such a fragmentary history of who witches are and what witches do, but for me it was like one of the sources of continuity in my life. Like, it's something I was attracted to from childhood onward. So a little bit of the book is about just trying to, like, tap into that. And I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is a big part of my childhood love of witchcraft is, like, this kind of figure that on Earth we call, like, the crone, the wise old woman. And I've always had a passion for crone worship. And so when it came time to get together this tour, I was asked, like, who's my dream interlocutor? And the only living crone that I could think of who has the level of, like, the greatest level of experience possible is you. You're 500 million years old.
Yeah, but no, thank you. I do identify as crone. And,
that's good, because I realized, like, I put my foot in it there.
It's great being crone. You know, it's a great archetype to fit into on Earth, you know, and I do think, you know, when choosing sort of, you know, how to relate to human beings, you know, there's a lot of ways you can go. I have a friend, Maria, she's never made a friend on Earth. Because she's very aggressive, but I chose the crone form because I find that, you know, it's comforting to people in a weird way.
Yeah. So is 500 million years old, like, where does that fall in your time scale of age?
Oh.
Is that quite young?
No, I'm getting on.
Okay. I realized I should have asked this all.
I mean, I have a few million years left, which to me is not a lot, but to you it's a lot. You know, it's a different sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I really admire, honestly, that you've written such a long and beautiful book, because I've had all the time in the world, and I've barely written I've written a sentence.
Oh, one sentence at a time, it all adds up.
Yeah, you know, but I think it's because I have so much time that I don't feel any urgency, you know. I'm just like, well, I'll get around to that in like 1,000 years or something, you know, whatever. But, you know, I understand that your lives are shorter, so you've got to get the story out.
Yes, and I think a really important part of my spiritual practice, as I try to kind of talk about in the book, is just grappling with the immediacy of death all around me all the time.
Yeah.
And what a sense of urgency that gives me to just, like, get out and have a good time. And have a good time, like, spiritually as well.
No, absolutely. That's one of the things I find so beautiful about human beings, is you have these very short lifespans, I mean, from where I sit, and you do so much with them. and you really make the most of it. I feel like you're all really hard on yourselves and you think I haven't done anything, but if you look at from my perspective, it's like you're creating these beautiful things all the time in a short time span.
Thank you. How long have you been coming to Earth? I've meant to ask this.
Well,
again.
the first time I came was around 70 million years ago.
Wow. Okay.
So there weren't humans yet.
Yeah.
It's mostly dinosaurs and and that sort of thing. It was very different. I did love the dinosaurs, and I'm sorry about what happened to them. But it was it was only like a few hundred. Well, we had an idea that it was going to be the primates. But there were a lot of bets among Marillions, so like which creature's going to start talking and that sort of thing. And people were like, my friend Cunton was thinking it was going to be the whales. And I said, they've got a good tune going there, but I don't know. If you look at these apes over on this corner here, they look worried. And that's the first sign that language is coming.
Actually, this would be a great time to ask you some questions about like mysteries of evolution. Like, did apes actually take hallucinogenic mushrooms in order to evolve more quickly?
Some of them did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all of them. I mean, that would have, that's not really possible. But I think they ate what was around, and it did have an effect. I will say that. I think there were many different routes. You did get down to about it was tenuous there for a minute. You got down to only about 800.
Only 800.
Yeah, there was a period. I can't remember, about 100,000 years ago or something, and a lot of problems, and then there was just a few of you, and so you were all descended from them, and they were a tricky bunch. I met them, and they had a lot of different. I was like, well, if this is going to be the group that spawns a whole, civilization, then there's going to be a lot of, conflict, because there definitely was different personality types there.
Would you say, are there any echoes between that conflict and like present issues we may be experiencing?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just been, a constant conflict, really. As a species, you don't lack for drama. That's definitely true. There are other species, other planets where things are very staid, and it's lovely in its way. But I do find Earthlings to be the most compelling, because you are so passionate, and I mean, you do fight with each other so much, which is unfortunate, and sometimes you're really not very nice to each other. But at the same time, if this makes any sense, the best humans at their best are better than anything else I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
In the universe, yeah.
That's beautiful. I think in some ways, like that really speaks to like an ambition of mine to experience the earth in all of its beauty and the best of the best. Like I want to, part of my spiritual practice as a witch is to try to really luxuriate in the beauty of the cosmos. And so it's really comforting to think that I'm in a very well-placed planet to do that from.
Absolutely. And you do find the best here at the Queer Division.
Oh yeah, in terms of books, for sure. Well, I wondered if you want me to read a little excerpt to you.
I was just going to ask you to.
There's one part that that I have you in mind in particular, because one aspect, I guess, of the book is that it's trying to grapple with the fact that what does it mean to have been, as say, a queer or trans person, left out of religion or persecuted under religious grounds for a couple thousand years. Not a very long time to you, but a lot to inherit for me. And witchcraft also was always the way to kind of get out of that, manage to have a spiritual life on a budget without hurting anyone, and yet also a way to connect with like deep time. Because I think a witch is nothing if not someone who is very invested in thinking outside of human subjectivity and thinking in terms of like, well, the agelessness of the cosmos. So I thought I'd read a little section about stones.
Oh yes, I'm very excited.
And then maybe we could talk a little bit about Stonehenge. But yeah, this is okay. So one of the things you have to know about this book is it kind of jumps around a little bit into my childhood and teenage years. It's like about initiating myself on the internet as a teen, but ultimately the book is kind of structured by working at an occult bookshop in London called Treadwell's, which I did for years. And the kind of precipitating life event that led me there is death and divorce. So this is kind of like, I wrote this section is just like on the precipice of me getting this job that asked me to like really up my spiritual practice. Okay. I needed to spend some time among ancient standing stones, and I knew I couldn't go to Stonehenge. This was all thanks to the witches in my life. Stonehenge is too famous, they told me, so a visit could never be casual. And visitors couldn't touch the stones. Whether it was among the thousands of people there for solstice or paying £60 to get the VIP experience with a group of 30 people, which allowed to spend time within the actual stone circle. I'd done a cheaper version of that as a tourist years before, and it was amazing but limited. I couldn't hug the stones, which is what I wanted. If you wish to meditate during your visit, please be aware there will be up to 30 people in your group, so you may wish to consider booking the entire session, the website read. I didn't have £1,800 to drop, which I guess is a good thing because I'm so bad with money that I would have used it that way. But luckily, the UK and parts of Europe offer many cheap opportunities to commune with huge stones that bear an overwhelming feeling of significance in their placement, the embodiment of heavy presence. I longed for that presence, something older that tapped into the wisdom of a timescale beyond my human experience, but not beyond my appreciation. The cheapest way for me to get to the stones was to make for Avebury, where I'd never been, and where the stone formations are thought to predate Stonehenge by 1,000 years. I wanted to approach the stones by foot, so I took the bus from London to Devizes, a medieval market town where I'd booked a room for a few days in a bed and breakfast run by an older man who spent his retirement training himself to walk on hot coals. I wondered what the true name of these stones at Avebury were, and then I wondered what their names were when they had been transported to this place thousands of years ago. The question of naming and of a name invoking the magic of one's true nature was a way to pursue a practically timeless spiritual question that has fascinated me my whole life. The idea of a soul in all things, which ultimately unites all things. I had skimmed ancient Greek philosophers that argued about this idea of an underlying spirit animating the universe. What was it comprised of? Where did it come from? How did divine interconnectedness come to be? And to my understanding still, whether belief in this force could be described as pantheism or animism, or pantheistic animism, it remained one of the most provocative and beautiful ideas born of humankind. There were times when it was a challenge. It's really hard to see the world soul on a rainy morning commute. And there were times when it came easily, as here marching through the rain down dirt roads that have held foot traffic for millennia. The most dramatic entry or exit point to the stone circles of Avebury is through walking down what's known as the West Kennet Avenue to the south of the circles, a path flanked by hulking pairs of stones that leads to another area known as the Sanctuary. The stones there were slick with rain, but I could touch them, lean against them, sit beside them on my tarp when there was a break in the rain to sip tea from my thermos and catch my breath. This path led to the West Kennet Long Barrow, an ancient place of burial. Ducking and walking into the Long Barrow itself, inside the tunnel, there was a profound silence that muffled all outside noise, a silence so dense that it spoke to me. We have always mourned our dead and made a monument of death to better move through our grieving and pledge our remembrance. I don't know how much time I lost there, only that I emerged to a darkening gray sunset. Nearby the entrance stood a cairn, a pile of stones with different meanings, but commonly made by wayfarers and ramblers to mark a useful point in their journey, another kind of remembrance. I found a stone to add to the pile and then returned to Avebury. That was all there was to my ritual, to walk in the rain, let myself cry, prostrate myself before some stones, descend into a grave, add a little pebble, and then hitchhike back to devices. The whole of Avebury is situated inside a large stone circle. Within that circle, there are others. Archaeologists have noted that these areas are free from the mess of many early settlements. No animal bones, flint tools, and ancient debris of everyday Neolithic life, suggesting that this area held some sanctity and was set apart by its creators, whoever they were. Like Stonehenge, there is much pleasure to be had in diving deep into the wide world of theories about what this place meant. Our contemporary moment is one of centuries-old embeddedness and total uncertainty. I trust that I'm not meant to know for a reason. The stones refuse all human narratives, but their presence is so full of vibrance that the experience of moving among them is enough. They freely offer the chance to grasp that there is meaning beyond human meaning, wealth beyond human value and necessity, time beyond human lifespans, and that feels miraculous enough. Walking among the stones, I've never gotten closer to that than feeling like the ant by the highway in the paradox about alien life. Aware that something momentous is happening, but unable to perceive why or how. I felt no more enlightened than the sheep grazing and shitting amongst the stones. My genetic makeup and lifespan was closer to them than all else. And this was the finest gift of my grieving, a sense of the finite and expansiveness at the same time, ignorant and aware in the right measure, open to accepting the earth's power that's beyond my imagination, open to taking up my own tiny place in its story. Every death is a rebirth, whether or not I can perceive it. But this time, returning to London, I knew that everything had changed, and my grief was giving way to a willingness to go deeper into the magic I found at the stones, magic that was all around me. And now I am next to alien life. So that feeling has just carried me through all the way to New York City.
No, it's great. No, I'm glad you went to Avebury because it's much better than Stonehenge.
Yeah, it's just you can sit right up next to the stones.
Exactly.
You can see the marks on them. It feels more like it's the lesser known.
Yeah, and it's real. I mean, Stonehenge, you know. Well, you know, it was sort of a practical joke. It was, you know, because my friend Claire and I were just around there, and we were coming by, and we were just giggling, and she said, you know, let's put these rocks in this certain way that it'll look significant. And she did, and we had quite a laugh about it, and you know, don't tell anyone. I don't want to ruin it for everyone, you know? I mean, I suppose it is kind of a big deal that two aliens giggling made it, you know, whatever, but, so that's something in its own, but, yeah, I guess, you know, in a funny way, there's no way we could ruin it because we're extraterrestrial, so it's notable on its own.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not an act of God as an otherworldly being, I don't know what is.
But still, please don't let this leave this room. Oh no, it's online.
Maybe we can edit that part.
No, it's all right. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, no one believes I'm real anyway.
It is true. A big part of when I worked at this bookstore is like people would come in all the time asking if all of this witchcraft biz was real, and it's kind of up to the person, like whether the information's all there, whether or not they want to believe in it is up to them.
Yeah.
And actually, I guess you're competing with a lot of other theories about Stonehenge, so there's a lot for people to sift through.
True, absolutely. You know, and you know, no. Most of the people online will believe this because people online like to believe things, but you know, we'll see what happens.
This really like gels with my idea of like what sacred sites should be. I think because you know, something about religion as I left it behind is like it wasn't funny and it wasn't fun.
No, it's not. They didn't. No, not a lot of fun.
No, it's very strict, and you're not supposed to laugh. And I wanted like a spirituality that let me like laugh, feel stupid sometimes, and feel silly. And so the idea that Stonehenge is a joke actually opens me up a little bit more to having a spiritual experience there.
Oh, great. You know, honestly, I really, you know, it's funny because you know, it was such a long time ago and we were just, you know, fooling around. I you know, it didn't occur to me that it actually would have, you know, significance to humans.
Yeah. Are there any other, like, jokes that you've left around?
Well, there's a few. Yeah. I mean, you know, let's see. Well, the pyramids were mostly serious. But there's a few little jokes here and there, you know, that we left. I mean, the Egyptians had a lot to do with it, but they did work. We worked collaboratively, and then they were sworn to secrecy. So.
Okay, that's a pretty hot tip, though. That does make me want to go see them now.
Yeah, you should check them out. They're great. I really love it.
Was it easier to get humans to swear to secrecy back then?
Oh, definitely.
Has that changed? Like
You
our
can't do it now.
relationship? No, yeah.
I mean, I trust just the people in this room. Unfortunately, it's online, so that's the end of that. You can't trust anyone. You can trust someone in person, but if it's mediated through the internet, you can't trust them.
And can you trust like generations of people? Because like that would have to be passed down.
Yeah, well, that was the thing back then. It was much easier to sort of, you know, you figured like, oh, they'll just, you know, it'll get, in the retelling, it'll get turned into a religion of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, that's what usually happened.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the things that people of the major religions are just, a lot of times it's one of my friends just coming through and it's startling someone, and then it turns, you know, and then 2,000 years later.
Got holy war.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of like when I worked at this bookstore. I mean, any bookstore does this. It's like kind of about breaking down some of these really hardened belief systems.
I'm glad there
all
are still bookstores, because they've been, you know, it's very good to have them.
Yeah. And they don't, I mean, they don't age very well necessarily over thousands of years. They kind of but
paper.
So like stone was really great.
Yeah.
Hence Stonehenge being so durable. But yeah, I mean, there are benefits, I think, you know, to some obsolescence of information, you know. It gives people something to do, keeping those stories alive.
I agree.
But
I absolutely agree. I'm also thinking, just because, you know, witch and everything, that the witches have always been such a great, you know, in my visits, a lot of times, you know, especially when I'd be dealing with, you know, like the clergy, they didn't take kindly to me. You know, I was a bit of a threat to them, because, you know, I was like, well, there's a life on other galaxies, and they'd be like, just whatever you do, just don't. We need to keep people away from her. But the witches were always really friendly. You know, I always had a great time with them.
it's really like an honor to meet someone who knew, you know, like like the witches of the trials, like what?
Well, yeah, that was a very dark time.
Yeah, lasted a while, but like, did you know the Salem witches?
I did, yeah. I was around there. I was telling everybody, you know, that they were being really too mean to them, but nobody would listen to me.
Yeah. I'm realizing now that I probably should have interviewed you before writing this book, because a lot of it is invested in my background as a historian of like written sources that are very unreliable. You know, like so much of what survives of human written history is just totally unreliable narrators and very angry men.
Right. I think, you know, honestly,
so I should have done a more anthropological.
No, you did a great job. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I don't think you needed any of my little, you know, tidbits of information.
I wonder, if one thing that I love that I've seen you do before, I wonder if I could ask you as a favor, is the first time I ever saw you on your visit, you kind of guided us. You very much like gave us the room a kind of blessing through a meditation.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that's something about you that I think is really witchy. And I just wondered if that is something
would you like me to do one?
open to giving us.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really powerful when it happens. I know it's what really drew me to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what if I said no and screamed and everything? That would
be within your right.
I would never do that. I would never do that. But I like to think of things going off the rails like that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be within your right.
It's an absolute pleasure to do meditation. Let's think of one that's good, not bad. Well, you know, they're all a little frightening, but we'll see what happens. So, all right, everybody, if you just would close your eyes. Wonderful. Yeah. And now turn your head slightly to the left. gorgeous, beautiful. Just the symmetry. I turn your head a little bit to the right. I'd say like a millimeter. No, up about an inch. We're going to be alternating between imperial and metric. So now I'd like you to imagine that you're standing on a spoon. Yeah. Now, I don't think I need to tell you which part of the spoon you're standing on. There's two basic parts to a spoon. One part is, it could be anything. It could be a part of a fork or a knife. And there's another part of a spoon that is rather iconic. It sort of embodies the entire idea of a spoon. So that's where you are. You're standing on that. And you're having the time of your life, honestly. It's just great. But you're like, where am I going to go? So you think, I need to go down the street a bit more. And you're on a street. That's just the deal. And so you turn on the motor on the back of the spoon and you get going and go down the street a little bit, and it's really great. And it's a street that's a wet street, sort of like a river. That's what a wet street is. And so you keep going down the wet river, and then you come upon and you see in the distance a crane. Now, you're not quite sure whether this is the animal crane or the type of crane that one might use in construction. You know, it's funny that you would get that confused, but you are that confused. So you go up to the crane on your spoon with the motor on the back of it, and you say to the crane, "Hey, crane, are you the animal crane or the type of crane that one might use in construction?" And the crane looks back at you and says, "What?" And you said, "Did you hear the question I asked you?" And the crane says, "Yes, I did." "Oh, well, did you have an answer?" And the crane says, "It's none of your business. I'm just doing my thing over here. Why do you need to know what sort of crane I am?" And then you think, well, yeah, that's true. And you have a little bit of a moment where you feel really bad, you know, that you were intrusive with the crane. And so you start to disassociate, a little shame spiral. But then the crane says, "Look, don't freak out. It's not the end of the world. I'm just a crane that I'm not going to get into it. So, you know, whatever you want to do is fine, but I don't need you freaking out here in front of me." And you're like, "Fine, all right, okay." The crane's like, "Just take it easy. Enjoy your day on your spoon." And so you say, "All right, thanks, crane." And then the crane says, "Well, thank you." And you say, "Really? I thought I upset you." And the crane says, "Look, I don't want to talk about it anymore." And so then you say, "Well, great." And so you get on the spoon and you drive away, and it's great. And, okay, great. Now you can open your eyes. Fantastic. Well, you should feel wonderful now. And you should feel, you know, much like hopefully you feel that you've had a lot released. A weight released from you, you know. Yeah, that's one of my favorite meditations, one of my oldest meditations, really.
How old is it?
It's like, I would say, it's only 100 years old. I didn't really stop doing this till recently.
Oh, did
The
you
meditation
retrain from another?
Yeah, it just was like, I don't know, about 100 years ago, I thought, like, let's do meditations.
Yeah.
So I took a class, and it was $600,000 for a 2-week course. And, you know, and that was 100 years ago, you know, in American money. And everyone said, "Claywoman, you're out of your mind." And I said, "No, I'm not. I just, you know, I just think it'll still be fun, and money doesn't really mean anything to me because I'm not from here." So I took the class, and I think it was worth it.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that.
I would not recommend spending that much money on a class about how to do meditation.
Well,
But I'm in a different situation.
yeah, I mean, like I said, if I had it, I might spend it really unwisely on
Yeah.
that class. So it's good I don't, I guess.
Yeah, but does that remind you of anything that happened with the witches in your
Well,
life?
guided meditation, I mean, meditation is a really important part of my
Right.
practice for sure. And a lot of the book is just about like what it means to have a freewheeling spirituality. Like I do have a
Mhm.
section where I kind of meditate and like come up with a little bit of a vision. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Okay,
Let's
I'll
do
give you
it.
this section.
Okay, great.
It's called Transsexual Hex Movie.
Mm.
And it's yeah, it's pretty meditative. There's a vision, but it's not as well. There are no cranes involved. That much I will say. Okay, here we go. I'm not nostalgic for the past. I just think history is the ultimate bargain. Saving time from having to reinvent the wheel. Saving time feeling isolated when there's nothing new under the sun. Saving time from making the same mistakes. A treasure trove to mine for ideas, obsessions, lovable characters, underappreciated oddities. So here's a prayer I recite more or less before entering into a research process. And research is like a form of meditation for me in this book. It's how I calm down. Archives are for divination. History is speculative fiction. The future is foretold by what records are kept. Each version of the past determines a future by its telling, its teaching, its circulation and safeguarding, the way it is metabolized. From the fragments of information that survive in clay tablets, papyrus, parchment, paper, photographs, film, it is always possible for alternative futures to be imagined. Archival research is a fortune teller's business. Shuffle through the catalogs and search engines, the aisles and files, and from a vastness of contents choose. Given how much survives and how much is lost, even my most educated choices are subject to chance. Like oracle bones, like tarot cards or tea leaves, runes, those choices will be influenced by other forces beyond my experience. The patterns I notice from these records, the stories I am able to piece together, the meanings I am able to assign to each will be a mix of desire and serendipity. The accident of survival, the constraints of time and space, and the limits of my imagination on any given day. I multiply this by the millions of subjectivities possible among the living and the dead. Choose the future you'd like to write and the history of how it came into being. I trust I will find what I'm looking for, or it will find me. I can only claim a history of witchcraft dating back to my own childhood, to the stories and spells I encountered and felt strong attraction to. I honor my predecessors by blood and by choice, through affinities I have with their ideas and ideals and deeds. I look for those acts of magic, spellcraft, and relating to the world or refusing it, that resonate with me, and I find my history that way. It's elusive and sometimes illegible documentation. Sometimes I simply inherit the responsibility of telling stories I find. Sometimes I inherit the responsibility of continuing the work or the spell contained in the story. For example, I have inherited a spell hinted at in a newspaper article entitled Transsexuals Hex Robin Morgan. Little information about how transsexuals hex Robin Morgan exists beyond this single newspaper article clipping from July 18th, 1973, an issue of The Advocate. It describes how, after Robin Morgan verbally attacked and incited violence against the transsexual musician Beth Elliott at the West Coast Lesbian Conference, were you there?
Yeah, it was a disaster.
Well, a group of dolls put a voodoo curse on her in self-defense. They were the Miami Beach chapter of the Transsexual Action Organization, TAO, an activist group founded in 1970 that spread from LA across the country to Miami, and even across the ocean to England. I trawl the archives. I beg to know more details about this hex. I beg and pray. I decide to make a facsimile of the newspaper clipping and meditate with it for more insight. I print out a copy of the article. I put on Beth Elliott's album, Buried Treasure, and spend hours one evening painstakingly drawing a photorealistic image of the article, typeface and all. Here's a quote from it. Although Robin Morgan did not attack any of us personally, her attack on Beth Elliott is viewed as one against all of us. The curse is a mild one and has been placed by Cuban transsexuals associated with the Santeria Lucumi religion. We love women and have no wish to harm them unless we are harmed. Thus, the curse was not made with evil or destructive intent. Apparently, that would only echo back upon the cursor. It will, however, act as a restraint. She will suffer because of her attacks upon transsexuals without a doubt. The portion of this article is a quote from the Transsexual Action Organization's Vice President, Colette Gowdy. Getting lost in the fine details of the article and taking not a single word for granted, transcribing with my pencil slowly and carefully puts me into a trance, which is the goal. I want to sink into trance and see what comes to me, if anything, of that ritual, and this is what I see. A woman dressed in red approaches a freshly painted white door. She holds a watermelon under the crook of one arm. Her well-manicured hands with red stiletto fingernails presses the doorbell of an apartment in a deliberate sequence. One long, a short and a long, and 3 long buzzes. After a pause, she's admitted into the apartment. The door opens into a room bathed in candlelight. The woman offers the watermelon to her host, who is wearing a long blue dress. They embrace, and then she is embraced by 5 others. Each have covered heads and bodies adorned with beaded bracelets and necklaces. They're building an altar. On a table covered in blue silk, they have placed an image of Our Lady of Regla, adorned with fruit shells, blue candles, 7 bottles of seawater. The watermelon is added to the altar. Thick yellow butter melts in a pot on the stove. It's transferred into a large bowl, and drops of indigo are mixed in, creating a psychedelic swirl that turns a deeper and deeper color, until the warm butter is uniformly blue. Cornmeal sprinkled in, then 7 little fish, then a pinch of salt, and finally a cotton wick. The mixture is left to harden. Another bowl contains a paperback copy of Sisterhood is Powerful, 1970, edited by Robin Morgan. For a long time, cooking oil is poured over the book, submerging it completely. 5 eggs are placed to float on the oil and then sprinkled with cinnamon, and another cotton wick is inserted. 2 women carefully bring the bowls to the altar and place them beside the watermelon. The 7 women congregate, one of them puffing on a cigar, and then begin to pray together. At the end of this vision, I burn the facsimile and give thanks. In the absence of more information, I must pour my own self into the gaps in the story. I much imagine all the spells and hexes transsexuals have performed across time. It costs nothing to hex and is therefore within our agency and power to pull it off. I grab a copy of Sisterhood is Powerful, bind it in black thread, and drown it. Having come across the newspaper clipping, I felt I inherited the responsibility to keep feeding what was started when a group of transsexuals hexed Robin Morgan from Miami in 1973. Unlike inheriting wealth or property, inheriting spells is infinitely scalable. The inheritance is split by as many people feel the call. Maybe you.
Well, I think it was a deserved hex.
Yes, I think we're well within our rights to hex, within limits, because it does, for me, I find it kind of complicated. Like, I don't want more of a relationship to the person who doesn't like me, like, it does create a relationship. So
have you ever done a hex?
Yeah, although, honestly, I'm more of a, cord cutting person. Like, usually when I don't like someone, I want them out of my life at all costs. But when I was in London, we were doing a lot of hexes to stop Brexit from happening.
Oh.
It didn't work, unfortunately.
Right.
So I think it takes a critical mass of people to kind of hex in unison to really get stuff done.
Is there sort of depending on the level of something, like if you're trying to hex for a country to do something different, probably takes a lot more people than if you're trying to hex for somebody to stop honking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. There was a whole concerted effort during World War II to stop fascism from making its way into the United Kingdom, and it was a coordinated effort across many letter writing, witches meeting together naked and trying to create a cone of power. So we really should have been doing that maybe 20 years ago here.
Yeah.
But there's no time like the present.
It's true. You can still hex now.
Yeah.
To work.
Yeah. It's time. Claywoman, I know that you, our time is short together.
Yeah.
And I do think that you encouraging us to hex is a very good way to end it.
Oh.
Because if I have any hope for this book, it's that people will practice witchcraft. The good and the bad of it, to their heart's content.
Yes. Well, I just want to say that I think that your story is a great template for the way that you're all going to survive this time.
I hope so.
I do know. I know you will. because I've seen horrible things happen on your planet so many times, and every time I'm like, they're not going to get out of it, and then you do. You make your way through it, and you fight, and you always, the good always wins in the end. I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult, because, you know, it's Earth, but I think you will win.
Thank you. That's really heartening. I think we need that.
Well, I know it's difficult,
Yeah.
difficult times here on the planet.
It's helpful to have the long view of history, to see that I think humans, speaking as one, and as a historian, have found ourselves in crisis throughout most of history,
Yeah,
and have managed to have a good time still. We can do both at once.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been quite an honor. I really do think that this is such a beautiful piece of work, and you're an incredible artist, and I've been very moved that you asked me to do this.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a dream come true to be in your presence. Is there any other visitations that you're going to be doing in the city in upcoming that you can invite people to?
Well, I'll be at, I think that I'm told it's sold out, but there's this, and I actually don't know where the venue is, but I forgot to ask. But on Thursday, I'm going to be at TrueAnon. It's a podcast, and they're having their live show, and I'm going to be making an appearance. And but then I'll be back at the Parkside Lounge with my dear friend Christine on the 23rd of November, which is a Sunday, and I guess one of our guests will be Becca Blackwell. Who is they're just an astounding person, really amazing. So that's very exciting. And if you want to come, you can find the link in my bio, but it's not there yet. My Instagram is Claywoman Hello, but we haven't made the ticket link yet. So, you know,
We'll keep an eye
yeah, check it out.
Thank you.
And you'll be doing more touring?
Tomorrow I'm going up to Catskill, New York to do an event at the community theater there with a screening of the 1942 Cat People. So it'll be a completely different, every event has a different flavor.
Yeah.
This one has been extraterrestrial, that one's about a very horny woman who turns into a panther.
Yeah, well, that takes all
diverse. Do you need help getting down?
Oh no, I'm all right. But thank you so much.
Thank
love.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I can sign books if you want to know Greg is going to make me think that. Thanks to everyone who came in.
Thank you, Claywoman.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Oh yeah, I guess I
Do you need help?
Oh yes, I will. I'll be right back. Thank you, online audience.
Do you need